everyone, it's Raina. So this video is if you have your sun in Capricorn and your moon in Scorpio. These are harmonious elements of earth and water, and they form a sextile if they are within, maybe 10 degrees apart. So you can use a chart calculator service like astro.com is what I use, and I find that it's a very easy way to look at not only the chart but the aspects. And this is what we're talking about here when we're talking about sextiles, and which is a friendly aspect. But anyway, even if it doesn't form a sextile, it still is going to be incompatible elements. And earth and water are feminine signs. So whether you are a man or a woman, you will tend to have a more, I don't know if I would say introverted kind of a personality. And you do have to look at the rising sign, because what if your rising sign is Leo or something very flashy like one of the fire signs, or very personable like an air sign, very sociable? Then you're going to, at least on the surface, be rather extroverted, but deep down you love to be a homebody. That's how I would see it. But actually, your sun sign, Capricorn, is the ruler of the house, the 10th house of career. So that opposes the 4th house of home and family. I'm talking about being a homebody, but that's actually Cancer's domain. But I just say that anybody who has a lot of earth and or water is going to be more of a homebody. Is that a scientific pronouncement? No, I'm just saying it because I just feel it. So anyway, you're going to have a very ambitious nature, and the moon is not going to give you any kind of softening with that, because Scorpio loves power, whether it's their own power or somebody else's. That's what Scorpio really respects, are powerful people. And that, I think, is primarily due to the Plutonian influence. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars maybe too, because Mars is very ambitious, but I think it's more of the Scorpio influence. And so if the person is not operating at a higher nature, this can be a person who is very ruthlessly ambitious, because the lower nature of Scorpio, which I do think that the moon can represent sometimes, is ruthless. Even though it's a water sign, it's supposed to be sensitive, it can be quite ruthless. And I think this is one of the reasons that Scorpio has the reputation it has, and people are a little bit unnerved by Scorpio individuals. Usually when we're talking about Scorpio individuals, we're talking about the sun sign, but here this is expressing in the moon position, and I just think that the moon does tend to bring out the shadow elements more readily, regardless. And this individual, because the sun represents to me, the soul's desire to express itself within one incarnation in a particular body with a particular persona, this being your Capricorn nature, it's going to be an influence of someone who is very ambitious, and they're going to work very hard to get what they want. It's not about I was going to say, I know this is crazy. I was going to say sleeping your way to the top. I don't know, man. Maybe Moon and Scorpio might, convince the Capricorn to do that. I'm half joking, but unless you can't tell, I'm just talking off the top of my head, and I'm thinking out loud. And I really feel that a person who has this combination is geared towards success, because that's what it feels like its mission is to become a successful person, to raise one station in life. That's another kind of an related type of goal, is to wherever that person has been, however that person has been born into a certain level of society, they want to improve that level. And the 10th house can rule the status in, of a person. And that has to do with what socioeconomic class we're in and yada, yada, that kind of thing. Now, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever if a person has the spiritual understanding of what that entails. In other words, if they know that the reason that they're doing this isn't so that they're going to be a big shot, so they'll stroke their ego, but because it may serve as an inspiration to other people to better themselves, that it shows what human potential can bring, that it's a productive thing. If the person is engaged in activities that help others, they're not just selfish goals. There are many reasons why that can be positive. So if the person is operating at the highest vibration, then it can be a wonderful thing. If the person is service to self, they're very self-serving, they're going to create a situation where they might be very Machiavellian. They might do whatever it takes to get to the top. And the emotional nature is pushing them in some way. The moon can represent the mother, and the mother in this individual. So I should be just saying, in your case, I'm talking about a third party. I should just be addressing this to you who is listening. So your mother may not be a sun in Scorpio, but she may have scorpionic tendencies, and these will usually revolve around emotional manipulation. For some reason, the mother has this need to be sometimes all-consuming, which means that she wants to merge with her child. If the child is a boy, this can be really messed up, because she may, if you're a man and your father is not in the home for any reason, whether it's through divorce or death or just never was around, she could turn you into the husband. And what I mean by that is emotionally. And it's because she's looking for that intimacy that she had with him and transferring it to you. And some men, when they have that kind of thing happen to them, which we could call a form of abuse, even if the mother is not doing it maliciously, maybe she just has her own issues and she's just looking for a companion. She might be lonely or what have you. And I'm not talking about anything other than psychological. But that can be enough for a male to have negative feelings towards women in general. And if the man is attracted to women, they can still avoid them sometimes because they just don't want that same kind of smothering effect. And so they might, a man like this, if you're a man, you might feel like a woman is doing this very like easily. Like you might be too sensitive to that type of behavior, and any demand, any I don't want to say demand, but any request by a woman might feel like a demand. But it can be a little bit tricky because in some cases, you may be one of those people who have a hard time trusting others, and yet you have a very emotional nature that makes you feel very strongly towards somebody that you care for. It's possible that with this combination, especially if you have Venus in Sagittarius, which is much more free wheeling, if you will, not really that serious when it comes to love, but treating it more as an adventure, that you may find yourself attracted to those types of people who are a little bit leery about settling down, and you pour all of those intense feelings into that kind of person, precisely because then you don't have to get too close to them, because they'll be less likely to settle down and reciprocate those types of intense emotions. But there will be intense emotions in spite of that stiff upper lip that Capricorn is known for. And like I said, these two elements are compatible, but you may feel a bit confounded and frustrated that you can't keep things on an even keel emotionally, because you really want that more than anything else. Capricorn wants to have that kind of control across the board, and that kind of sense of being able to go after your goals. But sometimes when our emotions are, roiling underneath the surface, it's very hard to just be ambitious without anything holding us back, because there's like a push-pull going on there. And it can create a conflict because there is such a difference in the demeanor of a Capricorn and a Scorpio person. Although if the Scorpio person is a sun sign, they they might even resemble a Capricorn in certain ways because they have that poker face. But we're not talking about that. The moon is the emotional nature, and it is the reactive nature, therefore. And this is, I was mentioning men, but women as well. The reason that I was mentioning men is because women are conditioned more to really surrender to their feelings, and in terms of relationships, to really make a big deal out of them and give them high priority in their life. Whereas men have been taught to be successful more than necessarily successful in a professional sense rather than a personal sense, I meant to say. And so nowadays, especially with younger men and women, maybe the gender roles have reversed, and the women are the ones who are the more in their masculine, and the men in their feminine in certain instances. In this case, both genders are going to approach things like this because they have this desire for worldly success, and they also want a very deep relationship, but it can scare the pants off of them at the same time. In terms of the types of professions you may gravitate towards, that's another thing that can be a bit tricky, because Capricorn represents all the structures in our society. So you might find that you want to work in the government or in a corporation where you can climb a ladder. But Scorpio being a water sign, there can be a very strong pull towards professions that involve the emotions or anything that involves healing. So Scorpio in particular excels at psychology. And but anything where you can help to reform human beings at a personal level. So I mean, this combination can be good if you're trying to reform even governments or schools. Maybe you would work in politics or some kind of a governmental agency. If you have Aquarian placements because of being, maybe Mars in Aquarius or something like that, you may favor a non-for-profit or something where you can work with the underserved and feel that you are making the world a better place. Capricorn may like healthcare with the moon in Scorpio. I mean, you could do just about anything, obviously, but the reason that I'm bringing in the moon sign is because sometimes with Scorpio, well, I know not just sometimes, a lot of times, the person has very pronounced likes and dislikes, and so it can be very hard for you to find something that you really align with. And either you love it, and with a passion, or you are completely indifferent to it. So there should be something that accommodates that. Now, Scorpio is associated with death. So if you're working in a field that involves, I was going to say the mortuary sciences, but we have to look at the Capricorn first and foremost. For the Scorpio, it's mostly if it resonates on the emotional level. But with Capricorn, if you work in the healthcare field, it might be something like a chiropractor, something that has to do with the skeletal system. Maybe, what do you call it? A physical therapist. But in terms of spiritual occupations, it might be something like a yoga teacher. That would be a perfect one for Capricorn, Scorpio. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.